Hi, it's Mary Beth Shaw from StencilGirl Products, and I'm almost live. It's just such a silly name for a program, isn't it? Yeah, well, that's my crazy sense of humor. I am happy to be here before you today to play with my friend Judy Wood's new stencils. These are 9 by 12 shape stencils, and I'm in love with them. You know, I've taken Judy's class, and I just think she's probably one of the best teachers I've experienced on the internet. Seriously, probably on the internet or in real life, doesn't matter which. But anyway, I reached out to her because I wanted her to design stencils for us, and she designed her first batch, which are really large stencils, and I use those in my work quite a bit. But I knew that there are people that don't look to our large stencils, and they don't work that large, and they need a smaller format shape stencils. So, so here's one. And so I'm sure you're familiar with this, but I'm just going to point it out as a refresher. So when you get the stencil, it comes like this, and all the little shapes are in there, and then you cut them out, and you have a stencil, and then you have a mask. So it's quite nice for creating variety in your work. And some of Judy's shapes are just things that, they're not just circles, they're not just squares, they are unique shapes. And that's why I love adding them to my work. And I'm going to show you, I wanted to do a project today that will allow us to really play with them and put them through some different applications and see how that goes. This is something that I have done before, and this is watercolor paper, and it is a random trace of a stencil. I think it was probably one of my stencils. I'll look that up when we get off of here. And I traced it with a waterproof pen, and then I watercolored in the little shapes. So that was super fun. Now this one was one where I used watercolor, and I did it super wet and loose, and so I put all the watercolor down first, and then I put the stencil on it and let it dry down. And then I used a damp magic eraser to remove some of the marks around the stencils. So that was fun. And then this one, I didn't even write on the back. This was just some fun. So I was painting the little shapes, and then I was also going back and writing some text in between the shapes. Well, within that vein, I've got a new idea because I just can't stop my head. I can't help it, guys. I can't help it. So come along, and I'll show you what I had in mind for this, and I hope it turns out to be something fun, right? Okay, so first of all, let me just say that I'm going to be using inks this time instead of watercolor. Some of the inks are permanent, and some are not permanent. So I have no idea what is going to happen. You are going to see the results of this just as I see them, all right? Because that's the way I like to roll. All right, so first I'm gonna just use a regular old pencil, and I am gonna trace a shape here. Now I could, well, that was really a bad tracing effort there, but good Lord. I could be tracing around the part that I popped out of this, or I could trace within this, either way. But I'm going to hold the masks because I have a different idea for that. So that is why I'm doing it this way. Let me tell you about the paper I'm using. I am using 90-pound watercolor paper because I wanted the paper to be able to tolerate a lot of I missed the top of that for some reason. I'm gonna turn this around because I have a feeling you can't see it as well as you can. I'm gonna see if I can adjust mine. You know what? Let's get another light in here because that just doesn't look like it's as bright as it should be. There's a little bit. more light. It's a weird day. I usually, rely on like outside light, which I am doing, but it's just, it's in and out. So, all right. I have a couple brushes here. Let's see, I said I was using watercolor paper, and that is because I want the paint to move around a little bit, the ink, and I think it's going to do it on the watercolor paper. And then the other thing is that I want these to be sturdy enough because I think I might want to cut them out afterwards. We will see. So I have some inks here. These are from, let me put the lid back on this one so I can show you. These are from the Birmingham Pen Company. And I have, they were recommended to me by some of my artist friends who use their inks and said that they're just really gorgeous. So, well, you know how that is, right? Somebody says, oh, you gotta try this. Well, you gotta try it. So I did. I really wanted to try it. But I am not actually, I don't use dip pens that much, and I don't, use that kind of thing. So I wanted to use them in more of a freeform way, and this is the first time I've really used them. The colors are divine. This one is called Firebox, this color, and look at how you put it down and it just kind of moves around, right? So I do rather like that, I think. I did not know the containers were going to be so large when I ordered these. I'm like, wow. I mean, because in ink, that's a pretty big ink container right there. So I thought that was fun. And you can see by looking in the lid, look in that lid, you can see little granulations in there. So I think it's going to granulate, and which is something I also like. But I have some of their other paints too. This one is an everlasting paint called Amaryllis. And I wanted to put that in there because, pink and orange, hello. Who doesn't like that? I have always liked that. And I just want to get this wet and let it play. Ink responds very much like watercolor if you get your receiving surface wet. The one thing that I've always said about watercolor, and somebody told me this once, and it's a great saying, is watercolor has to be invited in. And, the water does that, it invites it in. So I always think it's a similar situation with ink as well. It has to be invited in a little bit with, the use of a pen, or if you want it to actually move around your page as it is here, it has to be invited in. I will say this is drying very quickly, and I kind of like the way it looks. It's pretty cool. Okay, I got this other idea that I want to do. Where's the, okay, here is a piece, just one of the masks. So I'm going to just put some color down here, some wet color, and lay this on top and see how that looks. So let's, let me get a brush to spread the water out first. This is the other reason I really wanted to use, okay, I probably should have, okay, all right, this is gorgeous, gorgeous. I meant to use my smaller brush though, so, all right, we're gonna have a lot of this color. This is called Railroad Spike, and oh my gosh, is it a gorgeous color, as you can see. But I wanted to use another color with it. It's going to be quite dark. That's okay. We can just improv, right? I want to use this bronze color with it that I really like too. Oh, it's not gonna, okay. I don't think it's gonna work because I've got too much going on there. I have too much of the other paint. So let's see what we can do here. And I'm gonna try to lay more than one of these down because I've got so much of the ink on here. So we'll see. I have no idea what's gonna happen here, guys. But see how when you lay the stencil down, it kind of grabs onto that surface. and then, you know, it makes the ink move to another place. So we're going to see what happens when this dries down. Okay, so now we got that going. In the meantime, let's go back and finish this little guy. This color, this bronze, is the craziest color I have ever seen. You got to see this on here. All right, so that's how it looks like when you paint it like full force. Now then, watch this. Look at that when you tease it out. Is that extraordinary? I've never seen anything like that. It comes out into just a totally different color, like almost like a green gold or something. And it borders on a fluorescent result. It looks like it glow in the dark. I have no idea if it will. It's called a dye pigment hybrid ink. I'm not even fully sure what that means, but boy, I sure love the way that looks. I think that Tim Holtz's Distress Oxides are dye pigment hybrids too. So this is all starting to become clear to me why I like both of these and Tim's, right? Because I apparently like it when these paints do these unexpected things. All right, let's get this over here. Now, I have puddles that you can see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little hunk of paper towel, and I'm going to just pull up some of the puddle. Because that's just, you know, I obviously used more water than I needed to. And if you do that, it's going to leave a little bit of a, like a texture kind of mark from the paper towel, which is kind of fun. I like to leave the dark, the light, and have the variation in the value changes there because I do like that a lot. So I will leave that. And there is a tiny little hair in there. Oh well, we're going to just leave it. And then this one over here, I wanted to pull up a little bit right here because I felt like I got a fair amount there. I'm going to just put this over top, trying to accelerate the drying mainly. And this may be one of these deals where I end up wanting to use the napkin as well, right? Because have you ever done that where you just decided that your little paper towel was as cool as anything else? All right, here's another mask. So I'm going to trace around this one. Now, you're probably thinking, well, what on earth do you do with these, Mary Beth? Well, I cut them out. Or that's what I'm going to do with them. I'm going to cut these things out and use them in my work as collage elements because I think that they're pretty cool looking. And they're certainly pretty. And this is the kind of thing that you just wouldn't, I'm going to spritz, you just wouldn't be able to produce at the exact moment that you're looking to make a collage component, you know? This is one of these things that's fun to have made in advance and then have like a little box or a bag or something like that of these parts that you have pre-made. This is, you know, this has been my modus operandi for many, many years, is parts thinking, because I realize that it's the first thing I do when I'm starting to make something is I go in and I make parts. So why not just dedicate time to making parts and saving parts and then have them ready? You know, so that's what led to me to create my class way back when called Parts as Parts. And look at that. These are fun to play with, these inks, you guys. I will say, now I don't know how they're going to be when they dry down as far as permanency. I suspect maybe a little bit more permanent than watercolors, but I don't know. I do know right now that when you just add some water back in, they do some super cool things, techniques that are just on the verge of being like watercolor cool, except these are inks. So, wow, wow, wow. Okay. Yeah. Pretty cool. Gonna pull up a little bit here to get a lighter color there. Let's add some more water, and I'm gonna drop just a tiny bit of this in. Kind of looks like fall, doesn't it? That green and the orange together. I think that these are very, very interesting inks. And of course, I already knew that Julie's stencils were very, very interesting stencils. So this is a pretty nice little combo right here. Adding these water bits is just adding a little bit more interest within the inks. It's causing blooms and all sorts of things that you're probably not even seeing here. What I'm going to do is let these dry down, and then I'll come back in a few minutes and show you where we are, and we will pull the stencils up, or the masks up over here, and see how they look. So I'll be back when they're dry. All right, we are back, and I was going to wait for the big reveal, but these guys just popped off. I picked the paper up, took it over by the fan, and they just popped off. But oh my goodness, check this out. I love how that looks. You see where the collage parts were, or not the collage parts, the little masks were. There's one. Here's one. Oops. Wrong way. Like that. See how they were on there? And they just left their little marks. And look at how interesting these inks became. I gotta say, I'm pretty excited about this. Now, one thing I want to do is see, I'm gonna try it on the edge here. I wanna see if it reactivates or moves. And it does reactivate, okay? Good to know. Reactivates. All right, so if you want to glue this down to something, you're going to need to fix it first. Ways you could fix this would be a spray fixative would be a great way to fix it. That would be the easiest thing, and I do like to have a can of that on hand. So that's the easiest way to fix this, so then you can do something else with it. It was my plan to cut these parts out. However, I think this whole piece looks so cool, I'm not sure I want to cut it up right now, so we will see. Now the others, I did go ahead and cut them out, and I wanted to show you some of the ways I did that. Okay, so here was one, and here's what I cut it out of. And I save the little borders because I just really like the little border parts. I honestly could not even explain why, but they're just cool. So there's another one with its border. Here's one. Here's its border. Some of the borders are bigger than others because the paint spread out more. And this one didn't have a border. This one it did, and it's right here. So I want to give you just a little quick example of what I might do with these. I don't have a journal spread going at the moment that I could show you, but this is the start of a painting. It's a background, and like, let's say we've got this going on. So we could maybe decide to add, I don't know, that blends in too much, doesn't pop out as much as I would like. Let's just pretend we want to go with a different opposing color, right? So maybe we could do something like this, add some color, or maybe we just want to add some of these little border parts. I think these are super cool, truly. I find myself using them a lot, the little skinny border parts. I use them, in pieces like this. I will glue it in a piece. And what happens is when you glue it down, and first of all, I use a gel medium if I'm gluing this down because I think it needs, see how movie it's popping around and stuff? A gel medium is going to help really stick this down quicker than a matte medium because it's thicker and it's really going to hold it in place. So I would use a gel medium to glue it down, and then once you get it glued down, it is going to add actual texture to your piece because those borders add some texture, and I just love that personally. You can use just a part of one, you could use this part. The other thing you can do is when you make your little collage parts, like you know how I take little tiny collage pieces. I'm going to grab my box real quick. Wait a second and I will show you. All right, so I think my little collages are in here. Yes, here they are. So remember, we've made these before together, I believe, these little parts with collage, and then I can glue them down into pieces. So here is a box of just random parts. So let's imagine, shall we, that we're going to put together one of these little collages. It might be something you would want to do. I mean, you don't have to keep these in the same shape they're in. You can just do whatever you want. This is your work here. The shapes were suggested by, what we just used, but then we can turn it into anything we want. So we can start putting these together, and I think it might be kind of fun to staple them. I was looking for my stapler. You could glue it, or you could just staple it, because how fun is that, right? And let's find some other little interesting components. Oh, look at this one. This one has some crazy parts on it. I just really have found that when I have these unusual pieces available to me, I will use them. I will definitely use them. I mean, gosh, you could even do this. This could be your whole thing that then you could put into something. So, just ideas. It's all about making parts, as always. Here's another base you could put something on. All right, stop me. Somebody stop me. She's done already. Seriously, though, I hope that you consider the Judy Woods 9x12 stencils. I think they're pretty darn special. I thoroughly enjoyed playing with them and experimenting with these different inks. As with all of our stencils, you can use them with so many mediums: watercolor, acrylic, oils, and caustics. You can use them with fiber. I mean, just almost anything you can think of, you can use a stencil with it. So thank you very much for watching, and take care. I'll see you in 2 weeks.